Welcome to Mic'd and Medicated.
Hello, we're here with Jennie Monness, who's a parenting expert, and she is also founder of Union Square Play, Charm Spring, and a podcast called We Didn't Turn Out Okay. And we're so happy to have her at the Beach Studio.
I'm so excited to be here at the Beach Studio talking with the two of you. Finally, we made it happen.
And I just have to say, I love the title of your podcast. We Didn't Turn Out Okay.
I'm totally fucked up. So I really, really resonates with me.
Oh, I'm so glad. I just added a ... to the logo at the end of okay, because I wanted it to feel positive and it sounds sort of negative without it. Like, I just think it's the first step is just acknowledging we're not always okay. But ... we can work on that.
I love that.
And one of the things I love about you is you talk a lot about sort of how understanding yourself, your childhood, your experiences informs how you behave and show up as a parent, as a partner. And I don't know, I would love to maybe start there. Just tell us about you and how you came to be the Jennie that we all know on Instagram and on social media.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a long undertaking that I'll try to be concise with. It's funny because I've worked with kids in early childhood, 0 to 3, 4, 5 for over 20 years, but it wasn't until I'd say parenthood, a little bit before parenthood. So 9 years ago, I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old daughter, that I realized the impact of our own upbringing and what that has on how we show up in life. And of course, with children, especially because our own childhood triggers that maybe we haven't even acknowledged or haven't even thought of on a conscious level come up when we're working with kids. But I didn't realize that when I was working with kids. You know, it came up, I think, when I started thinking about becoming a parent myself. Two things happened. One, I wasn't able to become a mom as easily as I had anticipated. I had to go through IVF. And then two, I did a training while I was working with infants and toddlers called RIE, and it's respectful parenting summarized in like a whole training process. And what comes up there is really what's behind a lot of things. And, you know, it calls you to be real. It helps you be introspective and to think about where you've come from. And then the IVF journey was really like this loss of control on how I wanted to keep it a secret and what was behind this inability to, you know, conceive on my own. So that's when I realized that this really matters. And then 9 years later, it's come to be where I am today. Like, I slowly started really putting it more at the forefront of both my personal and professional and parenting journey. So I'll stop there because I feel like we'll get a lot into more.
No, I mean, I think, and I can speak firsthand because our daughters are close friends, and you have definitely seen me where my daughter is having a meltdown, whether it's, you know, she doesn't want to go to the activity or she wants this. And I am literally like, shut the fuck up, like, stop it. And you're like so calm. You come over and you like get to her level. And I'm like, what is this? Like a parent fairy? Like, this is not fair. I just want to let you know, like, you really have a way to sort of literally put yourself in their shoes and talk to them in a way that they feel understood and respected. Are you able to do that with your own kids? Because it's really amazing.
So interesting that you're saying that. I like feel maybe I've done that with Beatrice, but I don't know if you've seen me always do that with Nell. So maybe I am the baby fairy, you know, with other people's kids, because the truth is that's very hard to implement as effectively all the time when you're a parent and on all the time. So the answer is, of course, I'm not always fairy-like that. I think it's easier with other kids, right? Like, similar to when I was working with kids before I became a parent. At the end of the day, I was like, I'm grateful I'm going home to no kids, because I really do take on a lot of what they're going through when they're in it. And I think that's the magic of what I do. I really do put myself in their shoes, but that weighs on me, you know?
I know,
And then
like,
when you
it's
have your
like-
own kids, it feels really hard, but so I can't always do that.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I'm just checking.
I mean, I would say, and like, I feel like having a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 12-year-old, I have not mastered parenting, but I have learned so much, not just about how to be a better parent, but also like so much about myself and how to be better as a person in any relationship. And
Mhm.
so I'll just throw out some of the things that I always say, and like probably mostly I say them to my husband because when I'm with him, I act like I'm a parenting expert.
I love that. We
Um,
all, first of all, anyone listening, we are all parenting experts. I always smirk when someone introduces me as that because it's
Sorry,
like,
I think I did that.
no, I smirk not because it's like negative, but I really believe we're all the expert in our own child. We don't always get it perfect. We mess up.
Yes.
I'm allowed to say fuck up on this one.
Oh
So
yeah.
we fuck up.
By the way, we're explicit.
Okay, great. I figured as much. I am
Yeah.
not there yet. When I do slip, I mark it as explicit. But
Wait
anyway,
till you have
I don't have
You have
to
a
teenagers.
different
censor.
audience, okay?
But we all fuck up, and truly, like, we're all the expert in our own child. So just want to say your husband is right, or you're right to act that way.
Thank you. And one of the things that I learned late, but that I have tried really hard to implement now is to always approach things with curiosity, not judgment. And I learned that from a parenting expert. And I find that that has worked in all aspects of my life. And when you talk about the respect or the putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, I also realized, like, as I was learning to be a better parent and, you know, realizing that part of that is being mentally attuned to like your child and what your child needs and being able to anticipate or at least understand and have compassion for them. All of a sudden it dawned on me, wait, like that's also what I need to figure out how to do for my husband to have a better relationship, or for
Well, I
this
mean, our husbands
coworker.
are obviously children. My husband's like my third child. I mean, he
Right.
can't do anything, but without me. I mean, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
normal skills. But you know what? I was looking at your Instagram and you had a video and it really like, it almost made me cry. And it was sort of like, maybe our kids are here for X, Y, and Z. Like maybe you have a strong-willed child because you need to learn how to let go. It was like
Mhm.
all these different,
I truly believe that. Truly.
it hit me because you're saying, you know, we're all parenting experts of our own children, but I also think our children are our biggest teacher. And I feel like
Yes.
you focus on that because they're teaching me patience, or actually like for my kids, it's like they actually need a lot of downtime. It cannot be overscheduled. And like living in New York, I feel like even though I'm born and raised there, it's like this pressure to always be busy and they can't do that. And
Well, I will say, knowing you, like, let's just say this for a little bit. I admire you for setting that boundary for your kids, like, even to my dismay
Thank you.
sometimes, where I'm like, please have a play date with my child. Or like, is she going to come to this activity? Like, I have not mastered that yet. I'm more like, let's do. But you really have been attuned to your kids and like knowing when it will be too much. So
thank you. Or too much for me.
Right.
But
Right.
also your kid's different. Maybe your kid needs more stimulation. Or
We're
you
all
also
learn
you've been
after, like-
working full time
Yeah.
more than I was, so you need to also have them be somewhere sometimes.
Right.
But I think it goes
But thank
back
you.
to understanding what your kids need and being attuned to them. And it sounds like you do that with your children and with other people's children, and that you really like treat children with respect. Because I think some of it is that children want to feel like they are understood and they are respected. And I think it's easy as a parent, myself included. I've been guilty of just like the, you know, do it because I said so.
But I kind of like, is there something wrong with that? Like, I kind of feel like there should be an old fashioned parenting of, I know, like I'm the grown up. No, like with safety, it's non negotiable.
Of course.
But with other stuff too, it's like my son will be like, I want this. Why are you able to do this? It's like, because I'm a freaking grown up. Like,
Yeah.
so how do you do that and still be gentle?
I mean, there's two things I want to point out there. First, that you said like approaching things with curiosity. That is like such a power tool, truly, with everything in life. And it's something, you know, from being like cut off on the road when you approach it with curiosity, like that person must have been in a really big rush type of thing, that you really reset yourself. So that tool is like
Yes.
honestly a magical tool, not just because it helps kids feel more heard and seen, but also for us, it's like this like automatic calming tool, sort of like a double thing. But so when your son is saying that, it's less about like what he's saying it about and more about what's behind that. Like I find when my girls are like, why can she stay up later and I can? And my reflex is to like over explain. It's really, I think that the one that's saying it feels like is she better than me, or am I not enough, or do you love her more?
No,
Whatever it
yeah.
might be subconsciously. And I think that's like what's behind the why can you and not me? And so, yes, the quick answer is like, because I'm a grown up, but you can also say there's going to be a few things that I do that you can't do. You might not understand what those things are, but I'm here to help explain them to you.
That's
You
so
know,
good.
like that is truly, it's less about
Do you
us like
always have the
convincing.
patience for that? Because like
It
I
sounds
just
like
don't.
you need so much patience for it. And what motivates me is that like I almost always regret when I don't answer that way. You know, I've been doing this for so long that to me it feels like it doesn't take more time.
It ends up being it depends on your kid,
Right.
but for me, and again, I don't always
Yeah,
practice
right.
what I preach, but it ends up being easier for me. But I have now really, in preparing for this interview, poured through your social media. And I guess my question is like, have you mastered doing this with your husband? Because you guys look so happy. And I guess like it seems, I know you're saying our husbands are our children, but for some reason
I
it
love
seems
all my
much,
children though.
it seems
I
much
tell Matt he's
easier
my
to
third
do it
kid.
for your children than your husband.
Well, I hope you guys take away that I'm not always like this with my kids, and I do lose it and
Of
all that. When you're like,
course.
do you have the patience? I absolutely do.
Yeah, we
But
wanna
the
hear this. We
repair
wanna
is
hear you
so
lose it.
powerful. I totally do, to the point where like when I'll pick them up at the end of the day when I've like lost it that morning, and I'll turn around before we pull away from wherever I pick them up and be like, I just want to see something. And Tess the other day is like, I knew you would do this. You're sorry. And like, I'm like, yeah. But anyway, I'm glad that she can like rely on that instead of like, mommy's like on this power trip that like, because I told you so. Anyway, I will say that yes, Matt and I mean, I've known him for so long. We like basically grew up, we met in college. We have a really great foundation of a relationship where like the security is like so powerful, to the point where on a recent podcast, I said that I'm so confident in my relationship with him that I sometimes like neglect it, like where I'm like reunited with him and my kids, and I like don't even say hello to him until, and that's, I should model for my kids. Like daddy's just as, I realize those things. So while we are
Yes.
happy, he will call me out at like, Jen, I matter too. And that's something we're
Yes.
working on. Of course, like, and when he does tell me, I'm not defensive about it. And then I also will say when he acts, like needy for something, or like, where's this? Like I just saw.
My husband doesn't even know where the forks are.
Right.
I mean, they're
I
all
just
like
saw
that.
an Instagram, like a husband's Instagram. Has like a following, and he's like, every time you say where's the scissor to your wife, you're actually disrespecting her or something, because you're assuming she should take on the role of knowing where everything is, right? Like, do you walk
Oh.
around asking, unless your husband has used it, you're not like asking him where things are.
No, because I know he doesn't know where they are.
Right. And so like this husband was like, and of course I'm summarizing it, I know there's nuances around this, was calling out like, when you do that, you're making your wife almost, or you're like setting the tone that your wife should automatically be the placeholder and gatekeeper or whatever, note taker
Yeah.
on where everything is. And that's too much.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. There was also a very funny video where a husband was like, the driver called, the school called, and they were like, do you know what bus your son is on? And he's like, I don't even know what grade he's in. And he's like, if you saw two numbers, the mom and the dad, you thought call the dad?
Right.
It's like, only call the dad if there's two of them. If there's two dads, call the dad.
And there's like so much that we're trying to like break in terms of these stereotypes. And I do think there's been like huge leaps and bounds in like what we're working on and how we're raising sons. I don't have a son, but like what I hear about how we're raising sons to like not just take on one role and what we're modeling for them. So I know there'll be like pushback on us just like accepting some of this. So I'll just say that this is like what I feel like the three of us sitting here feel, but I don't think that that's every husband and dad. I think it's like a lot of the ones that we see
a lot
out
of the
there.
Jewish husbands.
Yeah, is that what it is?
I'm going to tell you that that's what it is, because when I just did the Save the Marriage trip post, which I know you've talked about, it's not a literal save the marriage. It's like 6 days. We needed 7 days without our kids in our bed to like reconnect and go, I love you, obviously, and I actually have fun with you. But anyway, I took a video of him, and he was at the airport because he's like, okay, we have to get the gate and make this flight, because if we don't, my wife's going to have a heart attack, because there's one flight to Naples and then our boat. So he's walking so fast, and I slowed down a little bit on purpose. But anyway, I made this viral video of him, and you could see a pin of him and how he gets so far
Was
away.
he like running too?
No, he was just using the walkway, like the motorized one, and I was walking, and he didn't turn for like a good 30 seconds to a minute to know if I was behind there. When I posted it on my personal account, everybody was like, "That's my husband. Oh my God, that's my husband." Probably a lot of us Jewish women or whatever. And then on the public one, over 3 million views. I had 20 followers on TikTok. Okay. 3 million views. My husband holds my hand. He would never do that. Get a divorce. He's autistic.
Huge red flag.
Insane.
He's a narcissist.
Okay,
I had a
I have
husband
a
like that.
question.
Now I'm happily divorced.
I hope.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If we were walking ahead, if it was the wife, why is it
Such an interesting point.
I don't understand. The reason I'm saying it is because I honestly walk ahead of Matt because I'm like, you're like my third kid. Like, why are you taking so long?
It's always one in the relationship, I think.
But if it was the wife walking in front, would it be like she doesn't care about you? Like,
no, it would be like you probably pack too much, or your husband's slow because he's carrying your bags.
Right. Like, it's just also
I didn't even
this
think about that.
of like people judging.
They're horrible. Apparently.
But I guess.
And what he should turn on and make sure you're okay. Like, I don't understand. Maybe you stop to take a video.
He's like, we're not in a third world country. We're like a JFK, like Delta Sky Club area. Like, what is wrong with people?
Or it's a compliment that you're competent enough to find your way to gate 24B.
Totally. I actually don't know if I even knew what gate we were going to.
I will say it was our first experience with sort of putting yourself out there and getting this huge negative reaction. And we see you who have now been, doing this for several years, and you really put everything out there, your kids, your husband, your relationship. Do you worry about that? Like, do you talk to your daughters about that? Like, I'm curious because we often talk about things that start to touch on, our kids, but then sometimes, after we'll say like, I should ask my daughter if it's okay that I said that or.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few things there. There's like the negativity around just people being
haters.
And again, I approach that with curiosity. It must bring up something for them. That has helped me so much when like I'll get a comment to the point where like when it first started happening and I was having a hard time, I would actually write back like, wow, this really triggered you. That like helped me in this passive aggressive way. Now I'm even past that and I don't even feel a need to do that. I just will like ignore, I'll actually be like, thank you for this feedback and perspective. I actually feel like it's helped me grow. The old me, the most defensive, like I grew up, my friends when I was younger were like, Jennie can never be wrong. Like that was just being raised by a dad who is similar. Like I trigger defensiveness when someone is mean or whatever, but I have gone leaps and bounds. I truly now I'm like curious about it. I reflect. So I'll say that I think there is growth opportunity there, not to change or adapt or like hide or shrink yourself, but just to like reflect. However, and then there's the bucket with my children. And the truth is that's why I launched the podcast. I felt that my social media cannot lean on following them so deeply and personally as when they were so young. And people might not notice that shift, but there's like a vast shift that I'm like working towards. Not to say that I won't show them, but I don't want it. I'll even say like one of my daughters, and then slowly I might just focus not on that and tell like a story about, a third party. Like I really want to be respectful of that. Like if they don't want pictures or videos, I don't do it the way that I don't at all, unless they'll ask, take a picture and maybe anyway, I'm working towards that. And it's why I wanted the podcast to be focused on like just everybody's journey.
Yes.
As a parent. Yeah.
So did you, I'm just curious, have you done therapy? Like how did you become so much more reflective and self-aware? Because I did 5 years of very intensive therapy. I'm still in therapy, and it's been like, I'm the poster child for like, I believe it is hugely beneficial in your life and how you approach relationships and how you, as you said, you take in criticism or feedback. And so I'm curious, like, what was your evolution?
It's interesting. I think it's like the work that I do every day. The truth is I haven't been in therapy for a while. I have been on Zoloft up until April, and that's like a whole other story.
Yeah, why'd you go off that? Because we're mic'd and medicated.
We absolutely have to talk about that,
Yeah.
but that's not part of this like reflective journey. I think it's like the work that I do as a parent that like I truly believe in being reflective and thinking of I would think about it afterwards. Like, where is this all coming from? Similar to when my children act out. Like, there's always emotion behind behavior. If someone feels so passionately and strongly and negatively, it's not really about that.
Yes.
And so that's the work I do with my kids, that it started to really like permeate in how I approach everybody. Like you said, your husband, you know, and the deeper work I've done in my profession, the deeper work it's caused me to do on myself, truly.
Yes.
And that it wasn't over 1 year. You know, I've been doing this now for, you know, social media, my social media presence for 7 years. There are tougher times. I was just telling you guys that I just saw on Reddit that someone's like, does anyone notice Jennie wears clothes that are too small for her?
They're just jealous
45,
because you're
wearing
hot.
12
I was about to
clothes.
say you're very hot.
Stop
That,
it.
no, that's what
No.
they're jealous of. It's honestly because they don't think a parenting expert should like look hot.
But on a more serious
Sorry,
level,
I think that's what it is. And they're like, well, they want to see an ugly woman who has it together. They don't want to see a woman who's also hot and sexy and has her shit together. They
and
just
has
don't.
a great marriage. But what I was going to
Thank
say to
you.
you
But yeah,
is,
so fuck them.
I always say all communication, like all behavior is communication. And so that frame has helped me a lot in that, like, if I'm interacting with somebody and they're behaving in a way, like you said, like having a meltdown or saying nasty things or, you know, whatever it might be, I'm always trying to say, like, what are they trying to communicate right now? But I
Yeah.
love what you just said. I just want to underscore it. There's always emotion behind behavior.
Always. And even our reactions. So like that was like how I started to like have more empathy toward the people hating on me. But then what created this ability to like think more about myself was actually like breaking down like my own walls. Like I started to like notice, like I can't think of an example off the cuff, but like, you know, if someone were to say, you know, you realize that like, you know, talking about potty training and having your daughter on the potty, like that's something that'll be there forever. That's not actually a mean message, but the old me would be like, F them, like I'm doing that, you know, but then I started to be like, you know what? I'm able to talk about potty training without showing that, you know,
Right.
type of thing. And that might be like a chipping away of like every comment being an opportunity. There are times like the clothes for the 12-year-old, like, no, that's not going to make me
Yes.
change what I wear.
I mean,
wear
look how
I feel,
cute
and
you
it
are.
makes me happy.
Do you
And for
wear
as long as I feel comfortable, but like, okay, like, you know, I can brush it off. It's not like I think this person's like jealous and wishes they could wear that. I think you're right. It kind of shakes things up. It's like, what, why, or whatever.
Right.
It's their experience.
I said, as long as people don't start calling me fat, then I'll be fine. I can't handle the fat thing. I was a chubby kid. So if the trolls come for me and they say I'm fat,
because it's like, who would say that? But
Right.
now I
Thank
realize
God.
that like it's a real like thing for you. So no matter,
No.
I don't believe that would ever be.
it
a
makes
reality,
me feel better that
but
you said who would say that. If you didn't, I
Right.
would say, like, am I
I
fat that
truly-
they're not saying that?
that's why I
do
giggle.
I
thank
look
you.
fat? But it's funny you say I wear how I feel, because I've been learning recently that I actually can feel how I wear.
Yes.
So I've started to really
She used to dress like shit.
adopt, you know, a more
I need
proactive
visuals.
feeling. So like, I think I always looked very nice and put together, but
Very,
I
like, a little-
never really focused on what I was wearing, and I wanted it to be comfortable and easy and professional. And so I sort of had these uniforms that I wore, and then I met Caroline, and you know, she gave me a lot of unsolicited advice about my wardrobe. But now I feel when I get dressed in something, usually that Caroline picked out for me to wear, I feel great. And I realized, oh, wow, I get that
The
clothing is
power.
more than just like utility. It actually, there's like a real power in how it makes you feel. And it's, oh, one other
Yes.
thing I will just say, and I'm curious your point of view on this is, do you believe, I always say, fake it till you make it, or I always say to my kids, you don't act how you feel how you act.
Yes. I have to process that.
Meaning,
feel-
like, if
It's
you
like putting on
act-
your
Yes.
Superman cape.
like it,
Yes.
sorry, I love that too, putting on your Superman
Yes.
cape.
Yeah, that's why kids like to do them. They're like, Superman, and they'll like jump off of the table.
100%. I love that. And I do believe in like fake it till you make it. Less about like what that slogan says literally, but
Like, be
more
authentic, but act
or like
powerful.
about like, yeah. And more that 100%. Also, like that you create your reality, like that manifestation.
Absolutely.
I truly like believe in. Yeah. So like to the point where like the other day, Tess is like, Mom, you always say that, but like I really wished, or thought that I'd be coming home to like Labubu's and it didn't happen. I'm like, well, it's not always where like you are believing so hard and it happens.
Right.
Wait, what's Labubu's?
Okay, Labubu's. I knew you obviously you're not gonna know that. I think they're Chinese.
It
Are
was
they
like-
Japanese? Or these ugly, monstery, furry
Yeah,
things that you put on a purse? You're so far from the
Ah.
Labubu. We don't need to get you there.
you are. We
Okay.
don't need to get you there.
But your
the whole,
daughter
like, when
knows what they are.
You creating your reality. Like I've tried to like give sprinkles of that for my kids when it's applicable. And it's just funny that
They
my
take it
daughter
so
was like,
literally.
Yes. But
Like,
by the way,
I wish for a Chanel bag.
right.
but I have chills because literally the two of us were walking and preparing for this episode, and we were saying exactly that like you can and do have a lot of agency. So even though I have become a bigger believer as the years go on in fate and trusting the universe, I feel like I can control my destiny. Like
Absolutely.
and so I love that, telling your kids that at a young age and making them feel that they're in charge.
How powerful is that? I mean, there's so much to say about that. That's been my recent journey since April and why I went off Zoloft and things like that. But I think for kids, there's something so incredible about that. Like if we had known that, right? Like that.
I know,
we
but people didn't talk
create-
about this stuff.
No.
Actually,
And I don't mean like to the point where we like are thinking of, how you manifest and believe in things, but like, yeah, believing in yourself.
Well, you know what's funny
Yes.
is we were telling actually my son Teddy, who's home with a bug bite and staring at me right now, and we were telling him, you could manifest. Can you hear? Hopefully not. You can manifest what you want, but you also have to work for it.
Yes.
So it's a combination of like,
Right.
if you
Right.
want,
It's not like I prayed the Labubus
Right.
would be there when I got
if
home.
you want to be an amazing soccer player or you want to be,
Yes.
a writer, you can manifest it and then put the effort. And we're like, if you could manifest anything, what would you want to be? He's like, I want to be a billionaire. And I'm like, I'm not doing a good job as a parent.
I love it.
Meanwhile, like, did you ask, like, what does that mean? Like, he might just think it's like a
I think
fun
he wants to
word.
be able. No, he's like
He's
wants,
pretty
he
sophisticated.
wants to be
Oh, okay. I
famous.
don't
He
know.
wants to be
Oh,
able to
okay.
go anywhere. He wants to have 15 dogs.
But also knowing like what he would want with the billions is probably
Like I loved what he wanted. He wants a house for me on his
Right.
property. Okay.
Oh,
Amazing. He wants to have like 25 dogs
amazing.
and caretakers for the dogs. He understands there's a lot of responsibility. And I think he might want a chef or something.
I was about to say he has
He
good.
does not
He has
like
good.
cooking.
He has a.
I
he
am
has
not a good cook.
sophisticated food palate. So
And I cook like I can't make pasta. But anyway,
wait, will you talk about why you went off Zoloft?
yeah, I was
'Cause-
going to circle that back because we are
Yeah,
both
I'm-
on SSRIs and they are a
Yes,
godsend.
and I mean, godsend.
But so
And
it could
wasn't
might be
my
the wrong
plan.
medicine, right?
Right. It was not my plan at all. And this is like a long
not
story.
your plan to go on it or off
to
it?
go off it. I thought
Okay.
I would live the rest of my life on it. I love Zoloft. I mean, I have a really heavy journey for how I got on it. My first SSRI was at age 17. It was Lexapro. And then by 25, I went on to Zoloft after like a quarter life crisis. It's interesting. I've never talked about like these things yet. And I am going to on future podcast episodes when I have like a whole hour dedicated to it and the people who have been part of this journey since April of why I'm off of it. But anyway, long story short, my mom, in the last like 3 years, my parents have had like some rough patches. And I called a friend who had a recent experience of, this like awakening when she had her own hard time. And I called her, I was like, I feel like my mom needs to do what you did. You permeate like positivity and she's in a really tough spot. And my friend is like, I think you have to before you're sending your mom. And I was like, okay, like I'll do it for my mom. And it's an experience guided by psychotherapists that I was like, okay, I'll do that. But to really get the impact of that.
Is this the psilocybin that we want?
Oh,
Yeah.
journey.
Oh,
Okay, so it's like the
amazing.
journey.
you can be on an SSRI, but they're like, we recommend not. I was like, okay, there's been times in my life during pregnancy or like where I've forgotten to take it. Like, I know I'm going to be okay if I go off it. So I will. And then I never went back on.
Really? Did it like change your brain?
Yeah, I think so.
But
No
did you? I
way.
thought if
Yeah.
you go off an SSRI, it can be very dangerous because
I'm not
you'll-
recommending people
Oh.
do
No,
exactly
Did
what
you
I
have
did.
physical pain when you were going
No.
off it?
No, but you decrease it.
Yeah, I did it very gradually.
Okay.
But I'm not, I want to give the heavy disclaimer that this is what I did, and I'm not
Yes.
recommending
Yes.
anybody listening to do
And we're
it.
recommending that it actually is great if you need it.
Correct.
I don't know.
If I went through this journey.
No, I meant for myself.
Oh, meds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
recommending like
if I went
like
through this journey and
trips.
afterwards was like, I'm
course
having a
not.
hard time, I would go back on it. I just feel like it helped rewire a lot for me.
Whoa.
Can
See,
you
I'm too
share
scared to
it?
do that.
Like,
But
because
you can always go back.
No, I'm too scared to do the trip,
Oh.
the Psychotherapists, whatever it's called. I've never smoked pot.
so I have spoken to a few different people who strongly recommend that experience of going and having a journey on mushrooms, like
Guided.
again, guided by a psychotherapist. Why did you? I know your friend
It
said
was like
to,
under the
but
premise of like, I'm doing this for my mom. But I think now, reflecting, that there was part of me that when she said it was like, okay, I also want to do this for me. And even when I checked, in to do the experience and was like, I'm here for my mom, all this stuff, they're like, why
Why do you keep
is
saying
this
that?
so much for your mom? That's like a you thing.
Right.
That you feel that your mom needs to do this. Why do you feel she has to do this? Because of what it means for you, honestly, Jennie. And like, yeah, and of course, I mean, I'm someone that isn't afraid of those experiences. Not that I've done that before. I'm not someone that gets,
No, but you'll do mushrooms or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you're fine with plant med, whatever it's called, plant stuff.
Right. So like also giving that disclaimer, but I truly was like, I'll go off it, have this experience, and then go back on. I had tried, and I mean, I've been on an SSRI since I'm 17, and there were times that I tried to go off pregnancy or not, and I really couldn't. And so the fact that I'm still off of it, it's not like I woke up out of that and was like, I'm transformed. I went day by day, but I really feel like that's proof that for me, there was a rewiring.
Wow.
When
Can you
I feel
explain-
anxiety, I don't let it take over. I like reflect. I'm like, what is this bringing up? And I'm not like sitting there like thinking of my childhood, but I'm just like aware. It's opened up my world. Like, I think when you feel a certain feeling, it's also that your world feels small, right? You can only focus on that feeling instead of seeing bigger picture. And now like I'll have a feeling, I'll be like, I know this is temporary. I know that any like stress or anxiety is because I'm hoping that my feeling right now would be some other feeling. And why can't it be? For instance, like, I don't know let's think of what people have anxiety about. What do you guys have anxiety about?
Health anxiety,
Like you think something.
I think if I used to, before I was on an SSRI, I would see, I don't know, I'd have a headache and I'd be like, I have a brain tumor, or like very stressed out about my kids. I take safety very seriously for a lot of other reasons, but just I would ruminate, and like I felt like it was I couldn't just be present and enjoy life. I feel younger now than I did
Right.
20 years ago. But again, I had to find the right med. Zoloft was not the
Totally.
right thing for me.
Right.
Can you walk us through what the experience is like for somebody who is curious and considering
did you guys think this is what we would be talking about?
No.
with parenting expert? But that's the whole point. We don't want to talk to you about like the kind of parenting
Everyone
expertise.
can get that information. Yeah. And again, I think it is going to be, I'm interviewing the psychotherapists that were with me, and we're working on a really powerful episode because it's changed my life. But long story short, you are guided, and it's 7 hours. You're not sleeping, but you're laying down with like an eye mask on, and you do about like an hour of integration so they understand like who you are. You have calls before. This was my personal experience with who I sought out. So I wasn't with like shamans and like Costa Rica.
No. That's that. No way. I could not do that.
There was no like vomiting or like, it was very, powerful and incredible. And there were definitely parts, I'm someone that's constantly thinking of like my childhood and being self-reflective. And there was a lot that came up, that positive and negative, but more that I feel like helped me grow from that. I'll give an example that like part of the journey, a lot of what weighs on me is that I feel like I grew up with a mom who was like truly like a martyr, like lived and breathed us, like was stay-at-home mom. Like I never remember her not being there. Like we always had just everything. Like I just always reflected on her as like the most incredible. I've said to her throughout me being a mom, like, I never remember you yelling. And every time I yell, I'm like, my mom didn't, it was like something that was there for me. I didn't even know that I'd have this memory of the fact that like there were many mornings like she slept in. And I remember like she didn't wake up in the morning. But I don't have a negative emotion about it. I just was like, oh, now can you imagine waking up and your kids already went on the bus? We would be like, we're terrible moms.
Never. Yeah. Unless I was dying. Yeah.
And when I went to her after this, it was like, you slept in a lot. Like I remember dad being there, or like I would just like pour myself cereal. And she's like, yeah. Like, do you know how healing that is for me?
Because you don't judge yourself.
Yeah, like that she was a human being. I had her in my head as like this perfect, giving everything of herself. And that I'll never be that. No one ever will be. And it was something that like I subconsciously feel like I was like judging myself about as a mom, as a working mom, as a mom.
I feel like I could see that in you, that I think that was hard. It was hard for you as someone who also focuses on early childhood education and parenting, that I would do a lot of pickups when B was having she was having a hard time separating from me. And I was always there. And I remember Nell saying something like, well, Beatrice's mom is there. And I could see, or you were picking up Tess, your other child. Yes. And I switched to like this year, my daughter wanted our babysitter more and I would pick up my son.
Thank God.
Right. It all switched, even though she's
Nell
leaving.
would say like Beatrice's mommy's always there and you're not. And like
it's
any
painful.
other mom, or maybe a lot of moms would be like, oh, that's hard. I don't know. But for me, it would be like devastation.
Even if you were with inside, like your other child.
Right.
But like, it doesn't matter. It's like, I could see it in you. Like you had like a lot of other moms, like I don't think they care.
They can brush it off, or it doesn't bring up for them. Maybe like that's the point of like Zoloft for me, when I'm just using that example, was like dulling what was behind it.
Like it was a Band-Aid, not helping you get to the root of it.
It didn't rewire anything. And whereas I feel like this experience now, like I get it. Like we're all doing our best. My mom did her best and I'm doing my best. And it doesn't make one of us better than the other. Like,
it's funny because
that's
like,
actually really interesting.
I feel like a lot of that has happened for me through talk therapy, but I think there's lots of different modalities.
Well, they say this is like years of therapy in 7 hours. So it can probably do the same. But anyway, yes.
No.
So I'm glad you spent all that money on therapy.
No, exactly. Don't tell my husband, because he's always like, what are these bills?
No, not the shortcut. Sorry, I didn't mean that.
No,
I just
we're joking.
That you can get to these places with amazing therapy and work.
But it reminds me where you started, which is, I think, very universal for moms, which is just like this constant guilt. Like you're guilty, you work, you're guilty, you don't work, you're guilty, you were at pickup, you're guilty, you weren't doing something for your child.
And by the way, men don't have this. It is a thing. They do not have this guilt. They're able to stay very present, I think. I don't know. They just don't feel it.
Need to explore.
Right.
Like why?
I don't know. But I also think it's good for kids to see parents not always be there. But to feel safe. But look, but then my son on the other end, when I was picking up my daughter all the time, he would say, you don't pick me up. You pick her up more. Yeah. So it's like, and if I was able to tell you in that moment or not, it's like, I could see that it's always, you cannot win. If you have more than one child and you have other interests or a job, you are never going to be there 24/7. It's not good for you or the child.
100%. But when we leave these experiences, which is what I was doing, with guilt and anxiety, and then just like muscling through and taking that to the next experience, like you're not growing, right? And I think that's like kind of what the point is like now I can have the wherewithal and confidence, and maybe when this comes up for all of us, to just be like, it feels that way. It does feel that way, Teddy, or now, like that I'm picking up tests or I'm working, and to have confidence that like, that doesn't mean we're a bad parent. It might feel that way. I love you. And when I can pick you up, I will, like, and just feel not anxious, not anxiety take over for everybody.
And I would actually argue, like, you're not just taking it to the next experience, but it can be toxic.
Yes.
And I think like, I can't remember the name of this book, but years ago I read this book. She's a meditation guru. Oh, it's called The Awakened Family. I don't know if you know this book. We'll put it in the show notes. But one thing I learned from this book is the most important thing you can do as a parent is manage your own anxiety. And when I started to like really think about that, I thought about how much of like what I was doing and how I was behaving as a parent had nothing to do with my children or their needs. It had to do with my stuff. So I do think the more you figure out your stuff, and I think it does go back to your childhood, and the more you build a sort of a coherent understanding and narrative of why you're the way you are, you then start to have free will versus like being compelled to operate a certain way because you haven't figured out and then you can't take the time to change.
100%.
Also, we
Right.
don't have to be perfect. Like, I think it's really bad to hide everything from your kids. I'm not saying like have sex in
Totally.
front of them. You know what I mean? But like,
Yes.
you have to.
I'm a
That can be
huge-
scarring
yeah.
too.
No, I would never do that. I'm saying you have to.
That could come up in a lot of journeys for people.
Yes. No, I do not. Thank God I've never walked in on my parents.
Same.
Unless I journeyed it. No. But I mean, like I'll fight in front of my kids with my husband, and like, you know, my daughter will be like, "Don't yell at daddy," or this, or and I'm like, "Stop! Like you're a kid, like stop." But then I'll make up and like
It's
and then
about
we'll be happy,
modeling like healthy conflict.
right? Because then
I
they're
truly
gonna
believe that.
date.
Because do you know that there's people I've interviewed, you know, we didn't turn out okay, is like all of this that
Yeah, that
have said,
Whitney
I
said
never
this.
remember my parents. Did she? Yeah. That when it's behind closed doors, it also feels scary.
Right.
You know, like I think, of course, don't be having volatile arguments
Right.
and fights and depictions of a relationship. I, you know, think that comes with its own stuff, but I think you can model. I sometimes too, they'll be like, stop yelling or like stop fighting or something. And I'll be like, I love daddy. Daddy, I'm going to give you a hug. Like we love each other.
Right.
We're having an argument about something, you know, and then modeling what that looks like. I think
Or
there's an
explaining, and I'll be
opportunity
like,
there.
I'm really upset because dad didn't communicate something to me. Like I thought he was going to come for dinner and he didn't, you know, he had to do something else and didn't communicate. We were all kind of waiting and like it was a miscommunication, but I'm frustrated and I'm really angry. I might have waited till the morning to say that. I might have told my husband to sleep in another room. I'm not sure.
I'm laughing because like I could imagine for some wives, they'd have to say to their children, like, I'm frustrated, da, da, da. But I feel like you are so honest with your emotions that like, I don't think, and your kids are very bright. I don't think they need the explanation. I think they can probably tell you're
Yeah.
frustrated by the way you're
Yeah.
behaving.
Well, as soon as my husband walked in the door, Beatrice is like, and why were you not at dinner? And then actually, no, he did come back in our bed because my daughter Beatrice came over and she's like, can daddy come back in bed with us? Because I want to cuddle him. Like, is that okay?
Oh my
And I was like,
God.
yeah. So he was like sleeping in her like princess sheets, you know, which I always find a grown man in like
Oh my
unicorn
God,
sheets
it's
funny.
So cute.
And he came back and he was like, Beatrice said I could come back. And I was like, fine.
Yeah.
Very
It's
mature
sort
parenting.
of like the awakened family, right? Like everyone's like able to, of course, age appropriately. But I just think, yeah, like how much warmer is that than like, I don't know what's going on with mommy and daddy, but they're like not talking and the energy
Or
feels
then how do you
thick and-
date? How do you date and have an argument? Then you're
Right.
like, this is not normal. This is not a good marriage.
Right.
Because my parents never fought. So like,
or like everything was under the rug. Like
Right.
there's so much of that. And I think there's like a healthy in between.
are you guys
for
hot?
sure.
Because I'm schwitzing. No?
No, but you can turn it on. I was
I'm
just moving.
fine.
No, it's fine. I don't want everybody to be
No,
cold.
I'm not.
Or do you worry that when your kids, like, because I actually felt like it was much easier to parent when my kids were little, and it, you know, what they say, little kids, little problems, or like little people, little problems.
I think it's
big-
little kids, little problems, because
Oh.
little people can be like
Little-
dwarfs.
little kids, little problems, big people, big problems. Do you feel like the
same.
lessons are the same, or do you feel like, wow, I'm going to need like a whole new set of tools?
I think both. I agree that it felt easier in so many ways and harder in so many ways. I think easier for me because that was like my population was like this 0 to 5 years. And there are times where like I'll start talking about something like, Tess, I think you're really frustrated right now. And she'll be like, oh, not now, talking to me like I'm a baby. Like, you know, these like pre-tween responses that I'm like left with.
Right.
You know, I'll say I'm not. I'm telling you that I can sense that you're frustrated and I'm trying to help and figure that out. And I can't. Like, we can actually have more sophisticated conversations using the same sort of foundational principles that I truly believe in, similar to how we're saying we can apply this stuff to like every relationship. So while I think it's harder because it's not just, I'm here, I know you're frustrated, mommy's not going anywhere, as like all that they need, you know, when they're like in the throes of a 3-year-old tantrum. But I do think that, you know, that's still just as important. It just might change shape and form So yes, I think it's harder. Do I think I'll need a whole new set of tools? No. I think it's just going to be harder to really like stay true to that and not bring in my own stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
there
That's it.
are times where I'll, oh, yeah.
No,
Like,
what if you said it? Oh, we have to hear it.
No, and this comes like there is a lot of like whatever we can call it, Jewish guilt or
It is.
whatever guilt that I was brought up with, that like I'll sometimes see like rearing its ugly head, when like, I'll like maybe take the girls to do something and like they're fighting and stuff. And I'll be like, I really wanted this to be like evoking guilt on them. That's not
Yeah.
appropriate for me to guilt them. It's not. There's a way to like give them my perspective, but not in the throes of them having a hard time to get them out of it.
Oh,
Like
I'm screwed.
Guilt is so toxic, and maybe I'm not giving a good enough example.
No, I think it's a great example. I think most of us are not aware of that. Like maybe we all need some journeys, because I'm definitely like, you ruined this.
Right. That is what I don't like. Or like
this photo shoot.
You're right. Mommy can't do any, like, or even passive aggressiveness, like something like, oh, this is what we were doing. I'm like, mommy's the worst, or something like sarcasm, like just those things that you wouldn't do to a young kid that like you kind of,
I might say you're spoiled.
Right. We find ourselves doing that when they're older, though. That is harder for me.
Well,
I see myself doing that.
Yes.
But again, remember, you don't have to be perfect.
I know.
Right. But I do think there's something about like, well, it's your area of expertise, but also like when you're speaking to a child, you forgive them things. It's like you recognize they haven't sort of gotten to the point where like the logic makes sense or they have emotion regulation. But when you have a 15-year-old and it's happening, it is much harder not to sort of become frustrated much quicker. And I think like I always try to remember like the brain is not fully developed in boys until 24.
I don't think it ever fully develops.
I agree. But
yeah.
Well, we're gonna have
more wanting. I like didn't laugh because I just like know how hard that probably feels, right? Like
You're so much nicer than me.
It's really hard. I mean, I will say I like want to do this again when we, at that point I'll have like 80-year-old children. But like when you guys have had teenagers, because
it's harder to empathy.
Yeah, it's such a privilege,
especially when they're mean. Like I don't know about like your daughters, but I love my daughter, but she can be very mean to me, very like sassy or disinterested, or she'll pick somebody over me. Where my son is more of like, he always wants me. And I think it becomes hard to be empathetic when your child is sort of like not wanting you. But I also think sometimes it skips a generation. Like I was laughing, like my mom, I would have loved like parents of our generation to be like, are you frustrated? Like what's bothering you? Like no one did that. No. And I will go to my daughter or my son and be like, why are you upset? They'll be like, stop. I don't want to talk about it. Do you think it skips, or is it's like we're overdoing it? I don't know.
I honestly think, well, one, going to what you were saying earlier, one thing I always keep in my head is it's easy to hold a grudge. And so somebody once said, I read this somewhere or heard it, that when your teenager wants to be with you, like just savor that. So, if you're going to like, if your daughter's going to say something really mean to you and then she's going to come over and want to snuggle with you and you're like, no, you were really mean to me before. Sorry. That's actually like, no, like teenagers, that's their job. They're separating. They're becoming
I would take the cuddle.
So they go away, they come back, they go away and back. So I always say to Doug, my husband, like when our kids like want to engage us, like we have to forget if they were assholes the minute before and just be like, of course we're here for you. And that's what they need. They need to know we're the potted plant in the corner.
I wish I could do that with my husband. Because I can't. If he pisses me off, and he'll like try to hug me, and I'm like, no.
And how
like, don't touch me.
That they do want. Like Matt does not let me.
I don't know if he wants to hug me in that moment because I'm kind of like a scorpion, but he's trying.
Right. But I'm saying that's something like she's saying, like to allow.
Yeah, I should let
it. Truly, it's not. So many people are like, I'm rewarding and I need to punish. Subconsciously, I can't let them get away with it this easily. Like that's not really what it's about. They're aware. Our kids and human beings, that there was a conflict that got us to a certain emotion. That no one needs to be like punished or extended beyond.
Right. I agree. There's difference between like at a 5-year-old's age or even up to teenage, as you said, they're trying to spread their wings. Like they have very little autonomy of their life at 5. Like they don't even necessarily choose what you give them for dinner. So if she's saying, I want, Bella, who's my babysitter, to pick her up and not you, and it might hurt when I'm available to do that, it's her way of saying, like,
I want
making
to
a
make this
choice,
Yeah.
so I don't have to necessarily, I wouldn't hold that, like, she's not doing
Right.
something bad.
But I got to tell you, Jenny, it's really hard to do what you said. Like, I find that I have this sort of reflex to want to like rub their nose in it when I'm right. But you're right. Like, if somebody makes a mistake, they
Trust
know
them.
it. So even if they haven't apologized, you don't need to call the attention to the mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two things there. Yes, I agree with you. And then there's also like an apology means nothing when you're like, you have to apologize first. Like an apology means something when they're saying sorry because they really mean it. And sometimes they're sorry without saying it. The saying it is like for the recipient to like just feel like things are wrapped up in a bow, or because we were raised like you have to apologize first. Like
Right.
it
Oh,
means nothing.
interesting.
If you're like, you have to say sorry first and they say sorry, do you think they really mean that? They're doing
No.
it to just like get us over it.
I actually heard you're supposed to, if like, let's say they were really little and like they hit somebody, like I'm saying 3 or whatever, and like you're like, say sorry. If they don't want to, you're supposed to like model and be like, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
So and so hate you, like, versus
I mean,
doing
even
that.
like even like, I've sometimes said, I know when you're ready, you will. Like, and not in a passive aggressive way, like, not in a manipulative way. Like, let's say Nellie's like, Tess didn't say sorry. She just hit me. And I might look at Tess, I'm paraphrasing and be like, I know that when Tess feels she's ready to say sorry, she will, and in a sincere way. I think there's like a lot around apologizing and a lot around like all these like, things that we ask kids to do and say, like give grandpa a hug and then forcing them to, like, it's so meaningless. I
so
get
true.
that it means
No,
something
that's
for
hard.
grandpa, and that's hard. I lost my
love
grandfather,
that post
but
of yours though, because like I feel like I did that sometimes where like if my child like was shy or didn't say hello, I'd be like, what do you say? But like
Right.
that's
like
shaming them in a way.
Yeah, or like do it even though you don't want to. Like give them like an olive branch. There's like an in between, and I think that's what we're doing when we don't require the sorry in order to like embrace them again. They're coming over. That's their sorry.
You're right. It's the same thing. I'm like, it's like marriage advice, honestly. Because if I get a fake sorry, it's like, I'm sorry, but you were doing X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? You lost me at but.
Right. Sorry should never have
You're
buts.
not-
But when a kid like pisses you off, a teen, and then they come over to snuggle, that's their apology.
Yeah. She's
Right. But it's like Caroline was saying, it's harder to do with your partner than it is with your cute, cuddly child.
You're telling me like Matt can't last like 1 second after he pisses me off to not like come over and hug. And I know it's his way of being like, softening me and like sort of apologizing and stuff. He probably has already said, I'm sorry. It's like some of us have hard times letting things go. We feel like we have to like,
go.
Really like hone in on like, do you get why like this or that? But like, that's our own thing.
I actually think that's a female biology.
Is it?
I just made this up in my head. I'm not Darwin, but it's like women, like if you're like you're the provider for us as the man, right? You're going to get the food and you're hunting and we're reproducing with you. Like, we have to test you to make sure that like you're the right one. Like so it's like, we can't just let you get away with it. We're like, are you sure? Can you actually find the elk? It's like tough.
I like that theory.
I think it's true.
So did your mushroom journey also help you, not just in terms of like an understanding of yourself, but have you seen the benefits translate into your marriage and parenting?
Yes, it's interesting that you say that. I actually wouldn't say yes yet, because I think that the journey, and I really believe in this came at a time in my life where a lot of things need to kind of be worked on. And so I will say that happened for me to be in a better place, or on my way to a better place of like handling emotions and life and all of the things. And then in turn, it's also had me reflect on what it is that I want to do in my life. And I don't mean just like, like how I want to live the rest of my life. And so I will say that I'm on that journey, because with that has come like more, shifts that create more anxiety. I think I'm just like on the journey.
Wait, I think actually there's a thing our brow lady Julie told us. Apparently there's like a big shift right now in the planets that there are people who
Yes.
are just like going to keep going with the flow and just doing what they're normally doing, or like they really are contemplating big changes. And
Really?
yes,
She was talking like how huge change is
is
in
for
the
people, because
I mean,
I feel
that's,
that
like,
way
where I'm
too.
at right now.
I feel that way too.
But it's come with like me feeling a little more preoccupied or distracted or stressed, but not in the usual like Zoloft stress, like more just like I don't know, I need clarity or like I need to make decisions. And so I will say it hasn't like fully transformed my like parenting and husband life. If anything, I feel like it's just brought up other things that I have to work through.
Did it confirm that you want your mom to do this?
Yes, but
It's
I
hard
think
to imagine a mom doing this.
I think my mom would totally do this.
Yes, to the point that for my birthday, I wanted like my whole family to do it. I'm like so glad that didn't happen. It just ended up being me and my sister. I did like a second one and it was amazing on so many levels. But I realized like I do want her to do it, but I don't know if it's if that's her like next step. I think at some point I think she has to like figure out other things first. But I think everybody on the planet should. I've even said this to my friend who will never do it. So it was sort of mean of me to say. I was like, I just feel like people who don't do it aren't unlocking like their fullest potential. And she's like, I think I've done that. I'm like, actually, I think you have too. Like the friend that I said it to, like has really figured out her like life. I mean, I know you could say anyone has when you're
I
on
don't
the
think
outside.
anybody has figured it out.
I'm
This is
saying,
our
like,
first rodeo.
right. Like I'm saying you could say that about anyone or
Right.
not say that about anyone. I really don't know. But I just mean for people who, like you said, you with this supposed change, you can like just keep on the course or not. I just feel like when you don't have, it doesn't need to be a psilocybin journey, but some sort of like in your journey,
Getting out of your
was
head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not really like able to live like the fullest
I
potential
agree.
of life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've
Well,
been talking about this all morning. We talked
yes.
about getting out of your head and living from your heart and your intuition. And I feel like there's been this shift where I'm born and raised in New York City my whole life. Like my dream was to have a daughter go to Spence, where she's starting in the fall. And then there's part of me of like, do I want this life? Like, do I want to be like running around and ragged in winter and like keeping up with the crazies? Or do I want like to live closer to my parents in Florida and like have the beach and the sunshine more? Like, what do I want? I never thought that way. So I don't know if that's the kind of shift you're talking
I never
about.
have either. And I don't, yeah, I'm thinking like about all of it. And I think it's like a question of like this like autopilot of what we thought we wanted versus a pausing of what do I actually want?
This is so weird. I feel like we're having like what did they say? Like mental
kismet?
telepathy, because you said something before and I was like, oh, that's so weird. I was thinking that word. And I was literally sitting here thinking about like, it's the difference between living your life on autopilot and just sort of letting life happen versus really being kind of reflective about like, what do I want to get out of life?
Yes.
Like, what do I want to give? How do I want to, like, what are my values? How do I want to spend my time? Who do
How
I
do you
want
want
to spend
someone to
it
talk
with?
about you when you die? That's like a crazy question. Like they're not going to talk about like all the shit on your resume. Like what are they going to say? And like,
Yeah, there's so many things like that.
I hope they say that I'm funny. I'm just kidding.
They
You are
absolutely
funny.
will. But I'm even thinking about like to make this happen. And that's really why when one of you asked me, like, has it transformed your parenting life or this or that? And you could argue that I'm less stressed since my journey, but also more stressed in a different way because it's like I know that I'm not living the life that I exactly want, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But how do you get there? And that's really hard.
Well-
I feel sometimes like it feels impossible,
So
right?
the reason, I think, and sounds like you're way further along than I am, but part of how you get there is knowing like what there is.
Right.
And I have a hard time, like I'm very impressed by Caroline's sort of like, you go with your gut, you have intuition, you feel
Trust
things,
yourself.
you trust yourself. And I do think
Took a while
that
to get there.
it's hard to get there if you don't know where there is. And I, part of why we're sitting together on the couch is that like, I knew I wanted to do something and I wasn't sure what. And part of it was falling into this, part of it was just feeling it for the first time in my life, feeling in my gut, this was right. But I still sometimes am like, what am I meant to do? Where am I going? And so it's hard to trust the universe if you're a control freak and you want to like plan out every step.
That's why like the three of us are clicking so much because we probably all have that control, but we like are slowly like.
But we're trying to also like not be what maybe we were all programmed to be or what we thought. Like I think there's an awakening. I don't know if it was October 7th for a lot of us of like just seeing our how small we are and like our culture and like how life is so fragile. And I don't know, but I think it's this awareness of, and I think some people need the journey to get there, of like when you're on the right path. I have chills right now. You get chills, but you also, things just are like working, you know, like you think about, like my brother will run into somebody who's like, oh my God, I want to talk to your sister. And then then they're on the podcast, or like it just, or you are bringing up this journey where you feel like you're so much more aware and of a change and a shift. Like we were just talking about it.
Yes.
It's like the pieces start to flow, but you still have to be uncomfortable to get there. Like the thought of not wanting to, no, but the thought of not wanting to live the life that I thought I wanted to live,
I was just going to say,
is like, fucking scary.
Right. I was only laughing because like you were so passionate about what you're just saying that I felt like our couch was moving.
Oh, it probably was.
Like I was like, I feel the forward movement.
I think you're just hungry. So you're just like, we're like, you're floating.
That too.
And I will say, when you were talking about like, you think I'm further along and you have to know where it is to get to. And like, I don't have that all figured out yet. I feel like I'm slowly chipping away at that, but it's also a trust in that, like in the journey
or
right?
in the universe.
Like, you do have to have, I think, like you can't just like keep coasting along.
Right.
But, you know, I think,
but you could like give yourself credit, because a lot of people do just coast.
Yes.
And I think once you realize that time is your scarcest asset, and once you realize that like there are so many demands on our time and so many ways to waste time, you start to like realize how precious and important it is to have like some plan and some direction.
Yeah, like what is it? You make a plan, God laughs or something. Like it is really hard to plan, and we're all obviously planners, but like, I don't know. I struggle between this. I know you say I'm very good at trusting my gut. Then I'm like, wait, am I just like looking for a problem? Because, you know, my son's at a school, my daughter's about to go into a school. Like I'm already done with the application. Like, am I just causing, do I like the
like
chaos
are you
of
restless?
It? Right. But I don't feel like that's what it is, you know?
I don't either.
I just feel like, I don't know. Who knows?
And now is Matt, your husband, like, is he part of this sort of these percolations and, you know, helping contemplate? Because I find sometimes, like, similar to you, Doug and I met in college. So we have been together 30 years and married for almost 22 of them. And if I got those numbers wrong, I'm sorry, but I love you, honey. It's in that ballpark. We are so inextricably linked that sometimes we think independently, because we're so like you said, we're so safe and comfortable in our dualness, that sometimes like when I'm having these thoughts, like I forget to tell him I'm having them.
Yeah, and you're already 10 steps ahead. I'm like, yeah, we're already moving to Miami, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, what are you talking? I just signed an office lease for 10 years. Like, what is going on in your brain? Because we just paid tuition.
Oh,
I'm like,
I'm actually feeling like so seen right now, because a lot of our friends around me are just like, how does Matt not know X, Y, or Z? And I'm like, this is just
because
like,
it already happened in your head.
Right.
It's like watching a TV screen.
It happened in his. Yes, 100. This is the first time I'm like hearing other people have had this experience. So all of my friends who make fun of me, I really hope you listen to this and know that like some relationships are just like that. That being said, yes, I do think it's like permeated. And there are times where like he'll send a text and I'll call and just be like, look, when I wake up and get a text like that, it sets the energy so differently than if you're just like, I know you got this, you're going to kill it, like whatever it is. And he's like, you're right. Those are the shifts that I think that have been made, that if I were to have like said that like 5 years ago, I mean, I first of all wouldn't have said it. I wouldn't have even thought it, that he'd be like, okay, Jen, like you're woo woo, whatever. Like, I just think he sees how I live and breathe. Like, again, I didn't just come out of April being like, this is what we're going to do, but just what I really believe and am like embodying. And that has like come through to him for sure. But I did this whole journey entirely alone. Like, I do think he should do it at some point, but
I would love to see Jeremy and Doug do it. They're so like uptight, conservative, like wasps, but not.
I think you just found a new episode for us.
What, making them
like we should video the two of them taking the journey.
Yeah, they would never fucking do it. They would like never do it.
It's not like
they
that.
Would be like, it's not a doctor. What is this bullshit?
I thought you meant you have to have them on. Have you not had
We're
them on?
We're dying to have them on. They won't. I already have a name for it. Unmedicated, Unleashed.
Okay, I'm gonna send you. I love that. The episode of me and Matt. First of all, it was an hour and a half. The running episode was 25 minutes. That's how much I had to edit. I would be like, Matt, like, where do you think you didn't turn out? He's like, I did. I'm like, no, Matt, like we have to talk.
Yeah.
Why is it that opposites always attract?
But like, yeah, it's
please
so
send
funny.
us that
I
because
have to send it to you.
her husband is more interested. My husband is like horrified to be in the public space.
You know, Matt, he's horrified. He doesn't have instant
Really?
nothing.
Yeah, Jeremy's horrified.
Well, that's also, I mean,
your husband doesn't even know what a TikTok
amazing
is.
husband, like when we went viral. And actually, Jeremy, you do get a lot of credit because if it weren't for Jeremy's behavior, we wouldn't have 2 or 3 million.
Yeah, if he wasn't a
views on
narcissist who
TikTok.
walked ahead of me. No, I'm just kidding.
But then like we were texting and we have this text where we do all like our work stuff. And then like at the end of the weekend, Doug's like, so like what happened and like what's going on? And can you just send me the video? Because like I just haven't had time to like he doesn't even have an Instagram account. So I'm like, oh dude, like it's gonna take a long time to explain like what viral means.
Right.
Just say it's like COVID. We were Wuhan lab.
We killed
we let it out.
We killed it.
I mean, people are Actually, that just shows you have to be very strong because my husband was so strong and I'm so secure in our marriage that I not once was like, I'm like, this is actually hilarious. He was like, maybe you should. And some people were texting me. They're like, is Jeremy okay? I'm like, yeah, he's just trying to help me figure out how to monetize
Yeah,
this.
literally, Jeremy's like, let's not let this go to waste. Like, if I'm going to look like a dick in front of 3 million people, let's make money on it.
I was like,
I can't wait to show you a lot of video. First of all, I'm going to show you that podcast episode. But early on, there was one also of like me getting ready with the girls and being like what it takes to get a mom out. And it's like Matt just like laying there on his phone. Like I didn't even realize I did a time lapse. Matt's just like sitting in the bed on his phone while I'm like getting the girls their sippy cups. They were younger and like it's a time lapse. And I didn't even notice that he was just sitting there. Like the point was not about husband versus mom. It was just like what moms bear and have to get everything ready. And everyone was like, what's the effing husband doing? Like, and then there was another one where Matt's like, come on, girls, we're going to go take a bath. And they start screaming and yelling. And then I come over and I'm like, in 2 more minutes, like, we're going to take a bath. Like, you know what I mean? Like that they're like, he just has no patience, whatever. There's so many things. But so if you ever
that's
need
hilarious. No, I
for
just
the husband, I'm happy to send.
I just was really like, how the fuck do we monetize this? Because and then, you know, they hate me. So I'm like, should we sell something that says like, contact this lawyer if your husband's ahead? I don't know. But anyway, this has been
we should wrap up because one of our lights just went out.
See, and if you believe in like the time.
God,
well, no, they're not plugged. I charge them because I'm afraid that I'm going to use too much power in this little beach hut. So
I just have to say, like, this is one of my favorite episodes, and I hope we can do this again because you have amazing energy, and I feel like we just got started and could talk for 10 more hours.
I was just saying, I love hearing that because it's just affirming that like what I felt, you guys felt. But I was just thinking, I was like, wait, we like have to talk an hour longer, so
we can still talk if you want.
No, I can't because my
I know you have to do pickup for your daughter. Yeah. So I'm trying to be aware of the time.
No, you were so respectful, but I love that we all, well, Caroline, did you feel like we had a lot more to talk about or is it just?
Yes. Honestly, if the light hadn't gone off and I wasn't schwitzing,
we can do it again.
I would be like,
let's do it also with the husbands. Maybe
yes.
we just basically we have more work to do together.
Yeah, I mean, look, our daughters love each other, so I feel like there's always.
And Eleanor loves your daughters, and I just want to say Eleanor was very protective of Jeremy when this all went down because she was like, Jeremy and Caroline have a great relationship, and Jeremy's a really good guy, and Caroline has to make sure everyone knows that.
On the TikTok,
yeah. We're gonna think of your next video.
Are you kidding? We have but also we have so much to talk about, and I love that we've never had the time to really go deep with each other, even though our daughters are so close. So I always knew that there was that.
I feel like we're like sisters, even though like we haven't had that ability yet. Also, I would love to have you guys on. We didn't turn out okay, so we'll have.
Oh my God, we definitely did not turn out okay. So we would love it.
Yes,
we'd love that.
Yeah.
Ready and willing.
Yeah. We're thank you so much, Jenny. You're amazing. And you're really a gift to parents and people who, and you know what? You just, to the haters out there. Yeah. She's really hot and she's really sweet and she knows what she's doing. And so just don't look at her videos if you don't like her looking good. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are really grateful. And I learned so much and I'm so happy to have you in my life now.
Yes.
We'll put a text thread together, the three of us.
Absolutely.
And with that,
mic drop.
Mic drop.